So welcome to the first general body meeting of Hack UCF. As you can see, our mission statement is up on the board here. This kind of explains in a high level who we are and what we do, but we're going to jump into that a little bit more. We got a lot of really awesome announcements for y'all tonight, so I hope y'all enjoy. See, technical difficulties already. This is going to be good. Hey, all right. Good. All right. If everyone wouldn't mind, please go ahead and sign in. This is a SGA requirement. So if you just go to that link or you grab that QR code, we'll get you all registered so that we can do our membership tracking.
Can you guys scan that okay? Yeah, sure. Okay.
Cool. Awesome. Awesome. Just gonna kind of give a little bit of time because I know there's about a 20-second lag per Zoom.
I think newcomers are supposed to sign in too.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
If you're on Zoom and in person, please sign in because it's an SGA requirement that we have to take attendance.
Yeah. Y'all did sign in, right?
I did, yes.
I signed in.
Okay. I have to remove you from an executive position.
I know. I'm aware.
Just so that everyone else is also aware, part of the sign-in tracking is due to our constitution, you have to be at 50% or more of meetings, and we have to show attendance of that so that you can vote or run for an executive position. So even if you don't think that you might want to run now, it might be a good idea just to start racking up attendance anyway.
Okay.
There's someone else. Few minutes. Give them to get to know.
Much more than 20.
I'm really gonna pick up the audio.
Yeah. Hey, if you guys just joining us, go ahead and scan this QR code real quick and sign in. SGA rules, gotta have people.
Yeah, we'll start in just a few moments. We just want to give everyone time to make sure they're in the system, kind of get comfortable, and hope you guys enjoy the meeting. Seconds.
Yeah.
Sign in says is used to maintain active. Oh, you want to talk about active member status again, real quick?
Yeah, so got a question in Zoom. Sign in says is used to maintain active member status. I'm not an active member. We still need to have everyone sign in. If you have not joined and become a member yet, it still will count towards your total for this academic year. So that's useful.
Yeah, active members just for voting. So, and if you want to run for a position.
Okay.
I've got 505.
Yeah.
Yeah. We ready to start?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Without further ado, let's begin.
All right. Welcome to our first general body meeting, y'all. We're going to get started. Some housekeeping points to remember. Please set your phone to vibrate or silent. If you got to take a call, you got to do something important, please leave the room. Don't disturb the rest of us up here presenting. If you need to leave during a meeting, exit to the rear doors. Slowly close the doors, otherwise they slam shut. That's a little distracting. If you need to use restroom, go out the doors and to your left. They're on the right-hand side. Pick up any trash if you brought any in or you see any on your way out. That way UCF is happy with us. And we are following COVID guidelines. So if you feel the need to wear a mask, please do. We will be attempting to keep our masks on anytime that we're down and speaking with anyone if we have masks available. Last but not least, please obey Wheaton's Law while you're here and while you're working with us. And if no one knows what Wheaton's Law is, don't be a dick. So what is Hack UCF? If this is your first time, we're going to explain all that. If you're a returning member, welcome back. Let's go ahead and introduce our executives. My name is Daniel Trimble, otherwise known as the variable name in the Discord. I am president.
I'm Jeffrey DeVinson, otherwise known as Sugar in the Discord. I'm the vice president.
I am Matthew McKeever. I'm Oriomeister in Discord, and I'm the treasurer.
Jake, my handle in Discord is Kill, and I am secretary.
Awesome. So get the infrastructure crew to stand up real quick and take some recognition. They're going to have a lot more to talk about later on.
If you did infrastructure,
Stand up, Michael.
stand up.
Thank you.
If you worked on infrastructure,
Everyone.
A lot of our infrastructure crew is also standing up here on stage. They're going to have a lot to talk about later on. They did some really amazing work over the summer, and we are so excited to talk about what they've got, what they've been doing. Web dev crew as well, mostly standing up here already, but we don't have reserved time slot to talk about what they did. If you guys want to just like give a short explanation.
do you want to just stand up to say?
Yeah, hello. So what we do is we maintain the actual at UCS.org website. It's hosted on Squarespace. So we do stuff like information store, add all the content on that page as well. So if you're interested in that, feel free to get in contact.
For those of you joining us from home, the web dev crew is essentially responsible for all of our public facing web stuff. Essentially what that means is we had a really crusty instance of WordPress, thank you, that was locked down and was really secure, but we couldn't maintain it and couldn't update it. So what we did was we transferred to a Squarespace instance and we rebuilt the entire thing from scratch. Most of that was Jake, hard at work, Kill, and we're very proud of that. And we're looking to expand it. So if you have any kind of web experience or you want to get web experience, you want to do some kind of web dev stuff, the team is always taking new talent. So please come up, talk to us, join us. It's a great team.
Yeah, we also maintain the merch shop.
Oh, as well. Yeah,
We'll get more on that later.
more on that later. All right, operations. Can all of our ops members real quick just kind of like stand and be recognized?
If you're an ops member, stand up.
Major shout out goes to our ops team. They are the reason why the club has presentations like this to put on, and without them, we would be nowhere. All right, we're going to talk about cyber competition. Tom, I think this is introduce our faculty liaison. This is Dr. Tom Netterost. He's going to talk to you all about cyber competitions at UCF.
Good afternoon, everyone. Are we just, okay, great. My name is Tom Netterost. I am a faculty member in the Department of Computer Science. I've been here since 2012. I'm also the advisor that helped found this club back in 2012. As you can see, I do wear a lot of hats here, but probably the two that take the most of my time are advising the club and also being the coach for the C3 or the cyber competition team. Just for your information, this semester I am teaching like 600 and some students in CGS 1060. I also have an internship class, and I also have a cyber defense class. Also, I am not originally from Florida. I'm originally from Chicago, but right now I live out in Lake Buena Vista area of Orlando. Okay. Cyber competitions, what are they? The National Institute for Cybersecurity Careers and Studies, which is part of the Department of Homeland Security, define them as the interactive scenario-based events or exercises that help students develop and increase cybersecurity skills outside the traditional academic environment. Then, why should you, as a student, want to participate? Well, here's a couple of the reasons. They are a valuable learning experience for all students, regardless of your skill level. They provide a forum for networking and information sharing. which is an integral platform for increasing the future ranks of cybersecurity professionals. They give students an opportunity to put what they learned into practice and work together as a team to solve problems and learn new formats. They foster interest from students who might otherwise not be interested in cybersecurity careers, and they are a great way to learn about cybersecurity while encouraging participants to practice and enhance cybersecurity skills in a controlled, simulated, real-world environment. And above all, they are immersive, engaging, and a whole lot of fun. Okay, UCF's competition record. We are definitely the most active cybersecurity club in the country as far as the number of competitions we compete in. And we are probably undoubtedly the top cybersecurity club, I would say, in the US. We don't always come home with the first place trophy, but we usually don't come home empty-handed. As you can see there, through a lot of these competitions, we've mostly won first place, but a couple second and thirds. We have 6 national championships in the 10-year history of the organization. And most recently, I'm really impressed with our CTF, or the Capture the Flag group. This is the highest ranking I believe we've had ever since the club was founded. We are the 5th rated US academic team for CTFs. We are 14th overall in the United States. That's out of 3,733 teams. A lot of these are professionals that are out in the field that play this on their weekends. So we hold up really well against professional staff as well. And out of this crazy number of international teams, which many of them are from China and Russia and some of those other countries like that, we were 84th. So we're not doing too badly internationally as well. So I want to talk about our teams because we actually have 2. The first is called C3. It's the Collegiate Cybersecurity Competition Team. And this team is sponsored by the College of Engineering and Computer Science. Technically, it is organizationally separate from this club, but I happen to coach that team as well. So we actually follow the College of Engineering and Computer Science policies regarding travel and things like that. We do not report to the Office of Student Involvement, which the club does, or to the Student Government Association. The team itself is considered an academic team by the college. It has a foundation account, the UCF Foundation, where we accept donations that allow us to travel and pay for food and stuff like that, registration fees for competitions. I want to be real clear to the students in the club, this team does the same type of stuff that you guys do here, but it is separate. We do not get any money from SGA. We don't get any money from your membership fees at all. So just be aware of that. If you're interested in this team, I am holding an information session on September 19th. It's going to be at 1 o'clock in Engineering 102, which is the auditorium over there. And for this team, we do like people that have some of these skills that are listed up here. Either you've been a system, like these are like part-time jobs. I don't care if you did it full-time and were paid, but if you were a webmaster for a club or a system admin on either a Linux or Windows system, you know anything about first gen or next gen firewalls, Juniper or Cisco routers, if you have any of the CompTIA certifications, participated in Cyber Patriot in the high school, we definitely want to speak with you. Okay, and then the club has its own team. This is a good spot to start with. It's called NightSec, and it provides opportunities that every single person in here can participate in. There's no restrictions. There's not like a selection process. These are just some of the competitions that the club can do because we are not limited by the number of students we can enter or the number of teams we can enter. And I believe I'm going to turn this over to Daniel, who's going to talk more about some of the specific competitions.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
One thing that was in Tom's slides that kind of didn't get a whole lot of time that he was talking about was there are 2 major teams that usually get spoken about when it comes to like the club and or like UCF competing. That's CCDC, the Collegiate Cyber Defense Team, and CPTC, the Collegiate Penetration Testing Competition. Myself, I am the captain of the CPTC team, and I've got the captain of the CCDC team up here. Just want to put a face to who we are. We'll be at that informational meeting if y'all have any questions or want to join that specific team.
Thank you.
Yep. So one of the big things that we want to promote this fall is capture the flag competitions. This is not something that you have to go into knowing a whole lot, as long as it's the right competition. I've got 3 up here on the board, and we're going to go over these in a little bit of detail. That way y'all understand exactly what you'd be getting into. First things first, we've got National Cyber League. This is high on our radar. It's a fantastic training opportunity. It is one of the few paid out-of-pocket CTFs that we do. We do because it's so good. Now, normally in years past, students have had to front that cost themselves, but this year, for a select number of Hack UCF members, we are doing a scholarship to pay like your way into this. That scholarship will be based upon participation and merit. So if this is something that you really want to take a part of, you really want to like get interested, National Cyber League is built from the ground up to teach you how to CTF and how to learn how to do better in CTFing. It's a fantastic competition. It's nationwide. It's a great time. Moving on from that, we've got Hive Storm. If anyone in the audience was a part of Cyber Patriots in the past, this competition is very similar to that. It's not exactly CTF, but it is a lot of fun. It's system admin, and you basically have to fix a broken implementation of both a Linux system and a Windows system. So once again, great training, a lot of fun. It's team-based, 4 to a team, and open registration is occurring right now. Lastly, we've got Cybersecurity Awareness Week, CTF, otherwise known as Seesaw. This happens every year. This is an incredibly challenging and fun CTF. This is not something that I would recommend for beginners. That doesn't mean that you can't participate, and it doesn't mean that you can't have fun. Just recognize that the kind of challenges you're coming into here are of a degree of separation for how much more difficult they are. We do this every single year, and it does tend to be that our new members show up as this is their first CTF, and they spend 8 hours like just trying to find a single challenge that they can get, and they can't get through that. That's kind of disheartening. We're kind of pulling back from that for our newcomers. You're still welcome to show up, and you're welcome to ask questions and learn. It's a great opportunity to socialize with the club and really understand what CTFing is. But just remember that this is one of the more difficult ones.
Yeah, I saw a question down there.
What is capture the flag like sort of code for what that?
So in a CTF or capture the flag, so you're essentially trying to hack your way into a design system in order to find a string of text or a flag that you would submit to a scoreboard. Scoreboards most certainly are going to be in a Jeopardy style format. So you'll have like a list of challenges with different point values, and then you pretty much try to hack these individual challenges. And if you're able to hack the box, then you're able to get the flag and get the points.
Right, and to break down some of the Jeopardy style stuff, they get broken down into like disciplines and skill sets. So if you aren't really into like taking over a system, you're more cryptographically like oriented. You just like crypto challenges, right? Hiding messages. They have specific crypto challenges. They've got pwn, reverse engineering. There's a bunch of like miscellaneous challenges. And that kind of brings us to Sunshine CTF, which is put on by the club and its alumni members. Right now, it's mostly being organized by our alumni who have graduated. Fantastic competition. All the challenges are designed by affiliated members of the club. If you already CTF and you want to design challenges, this is the place to go. I think we're still taking
challenges, yeah. But like this is also a pretty good beginner CTF. So if you haven't CTF'd before, like I would recommend taking out Sunshine CTF when we do open it up in a few weeks.
Question in the back.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Anything else you want to speak about Sunshine was?
Not really.
Can you repeat that actually for the people in the audience? They probably didn't hear that.
Oh, repeat the question.
Oh, so someone in the room was pointing out that Sunshine CTF is coming in a couple of weeks. It's gonna, if I'm not mistaken, it's gonna be on a Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time, tentative.
Okay. And more about that will be announced as we get closer to those dates and they're ready to go live. right, so where can you compete? This is something that as long as UCF is allowing us to meet in person, we will be competing in the Cyber Lab as well as in the Discord. There are Nighthacks channels in the Discord. The roles channel will let you know how you can get access to those channels if you don't have them already. All right, this brings us to history. Many of y'all may not know it, but our club has been around for a little while. In spring, we'll be celebrating 10 years of Hack UCF being a club, and Kill is going to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Hey guys, is there a clicker on this? Or
Yeah, the big button goes forward, small button goes back.
Okay. Yeah, so this is our 10th anniversary of the club. Wow, I've been here for 10 years. That's crazy. More into that later. So this is John Singer. He was a student here a while back, and back in 2011, he went up to Tom and said, "Hey, like there's this like cool competition thing that we can do for like computer like hackers, but I don't know anyone that like does any of this stuff. Do you think we could like have some sort of get together, have some sort of meeting to try to get people interested in it?" And it was like, yeah, let's see what we can do. I think the slide's a little later, but
No, John's in the chat.
oh yeah. And you know, that Friday they had like I think they got like 86 people interested in doing like some competition that there was only like a dozen spots for. It's just funny that he's in chat. Yeah, so John's he's with us remote on Zoom.
There's pictures of some of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's the competition.
Yeah. So this was the old competition site. It looks better now. Trying to team.
Letter or email.
Yeah, this was. Do you want to come up and talk about this? Do you want to?
Sure.
He knows the story a little better than I do.
He was there.
He was there.
I was
Yeah.
there for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, John came in, showed me the website, goes, "I want to do this." I'm like, "Okay, great, John." I'm like, "Do you know like at least 7 other people that know as much? Because that's a minimum team size 8." And he's like, "I think we can find some." So he quickly drafted this message, had Charlize Hilton, who you guys have probably got a million emails from, send it out to all our students. And it said, "Hey, I want to do this competition. Here's a link. Here's what it's about. Come to this meeting." And it was like a week away. So I'm hoping we have like maybe 8 to 12 people there. We fill the auditorium. I walk into it. John's up in the front. He's not right there in that photo, but he's up in front with this big cheesy grin, like, "Ha ha ha, look at this, like 86 people are here." What we did find out though is not everybody wanted to do this particular competition. A lot of them were interested in cyber offensive type stuff as well. So we weren't just going to try and limit it to doing the one competition. John and I kind of regrouped and we decided to form a club. And from there, John really took over and did everything with, we overcrowded the room. Yes, as you can see, we regrouped. John wrote the first constitution for the club, went through the whole process with SGA to get us approved, went to I don't know how many meetings to get it all approved. And we met throughout the fall semester, and then we actually became a registered student organization in January. As you notice, the official name of the club is the Collegiate Cyber Defense Club. We chose that name intentionally so it matched as close as possible to the competition. We were a brand new group, and we wanted to make sure we got up there on website ratings, which we did really quickly. There's a national collegiate cyber defense competition, and then there are 10 regionals. We usually do the Southwest collegiate cyber defense competition. So after we put up our website and did some advertising, if you did a web search, it used to come up that national CCDC would be on top, and then Collegiate Cyber Defense Club at UCF came before any of the regional ones that had been around for like 8 years. So we did a pretty good job with that. However, students didn't like that really, really long name. And they started calling us the Hack Club, or students referred to the Hackers Club. And we came up and we're maybe going to submit the name as Hack UCF. And the administrators at the university at that time were not very welcoming to that. So the name stays as Collegiate Cyber Defense Club. And I made the argument that the nice little logo that Jake has on his hat or on our shirts is our logo. It's not that we're called Hack at UCF. That's just what our logo is. And they had to let it go through. Right now, they don't have too much of a problem with us using the name Hack at UCF. This was our first website. As you can see, it doesn't look a whole lot different. Actually, it's our second website, but it doesn't look a whole lot different than the one that we currently have now. In January of 2013, we initially tried to get people together for a meeting to form the first CCDC competition team. Remember, I have 86 people at that first meeting. We'd grown it in January to about 112 or so folks. So then I had this weekend meeting for people that wanted to actually do the competition that we formed a club for, and a total of 16 people showed up for it. In talking to the folks that were there, 2 of them were grad students who said, I don't have the time to do this, after we talked about practicing and stuff like that. Now I'm down to 14. I had individual interviews with all the students that were there, and a lot of them did come and have some type of experience. 2 of the students had no idea what system admin meant. And didn't know that Linux was an operating system. I'm like, okay, I don't think you're quite ready for our team. So by default, I ended up with 12 students for that first year. And that very first year, we didn't win our first year, but we did win our regional competition, went to nationals. Most of that team came back the second year. That was we participated in 2014, and we did win a national championship. We went on to win the national championships in 2015, 2016. We got second place nationally in 2018, 19, 20. And then this last April, the 21st, we won the national championship again. So we are really good at this competition as well as some others. Some of the things that the team does get to do that's exciting, they put our photo up on the Times Square billboard for everyone to see. At this photo, that was Vice President Biden. But he looks the same, and I look the same, I hope. And all those other folks that are in the black shirts have all graduated. Some of them are probably on our Zoom call.
Yes, they are.
So there's awesome. So it's good, to see them following us as well. And I'm going to turn this back over, but that's kind of where we came from, and we've started meeting in the fall of 2012. So we weren't officially until January of 2013 a club, but we were meeting during that semester. So really, this is the start of our anniversary year. Thank you.
So that's a bit about where it is that we've come from, but let's try to transition and talk about where it is that we're going. As you can see, this is a list of individuals who have been with us, and that eventually has to end, right? Everyone has to continue on. We all have to graduate and go on into the big wide world of cybersecurity. We do a lot of really awesome things here, right? You saw in that procession of images, a bunch of people at competitions doing fun things with their friends, going on to compete in places like Las Vegas or Rochester, New York, winning quite often. But this is where they end up going, right? This is where they do their internships, and this is where they end up getting jobs at after it's all said and done. Every single logo that you see up here, we put a member at, right? And some of them are still there. One of the big questions is, do you know what you want to do yet? And do you know where you want to go? A lot of times we will have industry representatives come down and speak about what it is that they're looking for in candidates, what kinds of skills they need you to have, and what better place to learn than right here and right now when we can teach you that stuff. So we're about to do some demonstrations, but before that, I just want to bring everyone's attention to the fact that if you do any of the things that we teach you on equipment you don't own or you don't have permission to use, you may be committing a felony. Don't do that. Every single member is required to sign an ethics form. That just basically says I promise I'm not going to hack UCF or anyone else. And if you do, and they find out about it and they ask us, we will throw you under the bus. I'm sorry. I don't want to be the bad guy, but I'm not going to get the club shut down because someone wanted to trash a page. There's a lot more on the legal side of house, and we will eventually be talking quite a bit more about regulation and like how to not get in trouble for doing the things that you're going to be doing someday. But if you haven't signed it yet, please sign it. I would appreciate it. All right, so this is going to start our round of lightning talks, where we're going to do short demonstrations of a variety of skill sets, let y'all see some like kind of cool stuff. And we're going to start off now.
If anyone on Zoom has a question, I think Jake DeClemente on Zoom is right over there. So like, yeah, he's totally Jake. But like, we'll read your question out loud and try our best to answer it.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions
Or just
on this
stay in
stuff?
chat.
No questions. It's kind of cool. Come talk to me after. Like, I'll tell you more stuff. It's awesome.
Hey, Larry. Nah, someone was saying hi to me.
All good?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. So
We've got web hacking with Jeffrey.
So yeah, let's hack a website. So I'm actually gonna do it up here because why not?
Oh, you can turn off the camera now.
I could, yeah. So I'm gonna.
You're only gonna hack something you have permission to, right?
Yes, I made the site.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
There we go. So we're gonna.
you own this.
Yes, I own this website. I made it during the tailgating. So who knows about Inspect Element?
Whoa. Okay,
Yes.
Good.
Inspect Element has a reputation of being very memey, of like you can just edit the text on a web page. And yes, you can edit the text on a web page with Inspect Element. But like that's boring. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with Inspect Element, and we're gonna play around with some of them and actually exploit this vulnerable website. So this totally real person that isn't me 24 hours ago said that they're so good of a web developer, they're challenging future me in order to hack it. So I'm going to prove them wrong by hacking it. So first, we know there is this script tag. In HTML, the script tag is JavaScript code. So we can see here, we have a launch function that is getting, let me actually blow this up for y'all. And okay, so we can now see let the user be window local storage.get item name. So that means it's storing something in the browser, kind of like a cookie, but not quite in the same way. And it's asking to get the property name. And it's saying if it is not null, then it will log us in according to this comment that they left in. And then some other code, but let's first see the storage. If we go over to application and local storage and drop down, we can see that, yes, there is a name attribute here. So I'm going to change it to something else. I'm going to put it to my name, and I'm going to refresh the page. Look, I'm totally logged in. It says I am, so I'm going to buy it. So that is just one thing that you can do with Inspect Element. Other things you can do, if you're familiar with like man-in-the-middle attacks and like Burp Suite, you could do something similar within the browser and kind of debug web requests, which is extremely powerful, as well as being able to run JavaScript code right on the page. So speaking of writing JavaScript right on the page, has anyone heard of cross-site scripting or XSS attacks? Good amount of you, awesome. So if you do not, an XSS attack is, or cross-site scripting, is essentially putting a like valid HTML into the body of a page in a manner you're not supposed to. So here we actually have a comment section, and we can actually leave a comment. I'm going to leave a comment, and you can see it puts the contents of this text box over on screen. So what if we use like an image tag? So in HTML, you can use the img tag to display an image. So if I put in an image I have, it'll be i.sh/i/voted.png and close it off. And I can just say hi. and then I'm going to comment it, and we got an image in the page. So obviously you would not expect that like IMG to be like actually rendered by the web page, but we can see it is being rendered. So yes. It's a name of a file I have on my web server. Yeah. So for those who didn't hear, he was asking where the file this came from, and it came from my web server. So now we can see we can put tags in the site. We're not done. We can go take this a bit further. So another thing is that you can run JavaScript by just putting a script tag in the page. But sometimes browsers will block that. For instance, Firefox, if you try to put a script tag alert 1, it's not going to run that. But there are other ways to get said code to run. So I'm going to do on error and then alert 1, and then close that off. And then I'm going to have a source that's invalid. And I'm going to comment that, and we get a pop-up on the page. So this website, whoever did design this really did not care about security, and we can call them out on their bluff. So that is kind of a crash course to basic web security. I'm now going to pass it off to whoever shall go next. Yeah, that is right. Google Slides is interesting. What?
It's fine. Or it's not.
Just for you, Addison. Okay, now I'm going to pass it over to Daniel, who's going to do some steganography.
All right, so hopefully this works. This will be the first time we're attempting to swap computers. But does anyone know what steganography is? Ever heard of it before? Oh, got a couple of them. Cool, cool, cool. Doc. Cool. All right, we're logged into me. Good. Make sure that this is.
You have to share your screen now.
Okay.
Because the Zoom people still see the desktop.
Zoom people still see desktop. Okay.
Yeah, when you share your screen, you'll check out presenters sharing screen.
Going to desktop.
You can just share your screen that right there.
Just click share, and you'll be good. Thank you all. Appreciate it. All right, cool. Everyone in Zoom following? You good?
Yes, we have it right here.
Awesome. All right. So just very briefly, what steganography is. Steganography is the art of hiding things inside of other things. Sometimes that's a file, sometimes that's some text. Sometimes it's an MP3 file that's actually an image, and you don't know that until you spend 12 hours beating your face against the wall trying to figure out why on earth you can't read this file. We're not going to go that advanced today. Something just pretty easy and albeit a little lame, but please just stick with me here. I like memes. And sometimes
I heard you like memes.
I heard you like memes too. And sometimes
likes memes.
I like to hide memes inside of memes. So the tool that I'm presenting right here is the Digital Invisible Ink Toolkit. It's really available and it's used by NCL in a lot of their challenges, which is why I'm demoing it here. If you have been in the club before, you might have gone to my Stego workshop. If so, you're going to see the same thing again. Sorry, guys. We're going to go to decode. We're going to get the image that we're going to try to decode on my desktop in a demo folder. I heard you like memes. And then we're going to make an output file in the same place called demo.png, right? And what this is doing is it's just basically like making a place to drop that file. Now I'm gonna hit OK, or I'm gonna hit go, and it's gonna take a minute because this is a really big file, which will let me tell you about why it is that it is such a big file. When you're compressing an image and sticking it inside of another image, usually like something of similar size, that image has to be really, really big to be able to contain all the additional data. As a part of that, that is the way that you can determine whether or not an image may have something hidden in it steganographically. You can also do some other types of automated scanning features that look for bit flips and changes in color. In the future, we may give an entire presentation on how to decode Stego images, even if you don't know, like you didn't make it yourself. It's gonna take a little bit longer. Anyway, so the reasons for this are usually in like digital forensics. You may find yourself in a situation where in which someone has hidden a bunch of files and or like passwords inside of other images or other files on a computer in an image, and you need to decrypt that. So we're gonna go back to demo, and we're gonna find out that I put a meme inside this meme. Yeah. Hey, it worked, man. I'm happy.
But
Because
wait, there's more.
there's more.
Is there another one?
Because things always go better in threes, right? Now this is gonna be quite a bit faster because it's a much smaller file. You can make these on your own. This is like particularly like easy to do. That's why like I'm demoing this particular tool. Really, really easy to pick up. All right, y'all. That's my Stego presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to learn more about this, just let us know. There's a lot more about steganography that I can teach you, but you know, if there's no interest, then we're not gonna waste our time with it. Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
There are no
Ask
questions.
for questions real quick. Ask for questions. You have to stop sharing your screen.
Oh, right.
There.
So now we're gonna welcome Michael Teresi onto the stage, who's gonna demo privilege escalation in Windows.
All right, so basically what we're gonna do, we're gonna break into a Windows machine, right? So there's this principle in cybersecurity where if someone has physical access to your device, you own that device. And we're gonna demonstrate exactly why that is here. So we should all see now, I have a virtual machine, and this idea works on both physical and virtual machines as well. So if I were to get a Windows machine here, you can see it asks for a password for the administrator user. Now, I don't know that password because I'm trying to break into this machine. However, there are options exposed to me on this lock screen that I can take advantage of. So down here in the corner, for accessibility reasons, Windows provides several programs you can use to kind of help use the software if you need assistance like that. So one of them that I'm going to exploit today is the magnifier. So what this does is it opens a program on the Windows machine called magnify.exe. And Windows and operating systems aren't exactly very smart when it comes to running programs. It trusts that magnifier.exe is who it says it is. And it will always try to run magnify.exe. It doesn't check the contents of that file. So what I'm going to have to do to modify those files is actually boot into an extra or external operating system. So on a physical machine, I can have a USB drive I keep in my backpack or my pocket and plug that into the machine and do whatever I want. So because I'm locked out of Windows, that doesn't mean I'm locked out of the machine. So I'm going to shut down this machine and insert my bootable media that I have stored virtually here. So in this case, that's just going to be an ISO file of a Kali Linux machine. And if you're not familiar with Kali Linux, it's basically a distribution of Linux with all sorts of cool hacking tools. So I rebooted the machine, but plugged in my USB drive or a CD disk with my Linux booted from there. So it's the same, imagine the same laptop that I have, for example. Instead of running Windows, it's running Linux. What that means, it exposes the hardware to me, just in a different operating system that I control. So while this boots, what I'm going to attempt to do is try to read the hard drive that has Windows on it and modify that magnify.exe binary or that program and make it something else. Lucky for us, though, there's already a very handy tool that comes with Windows that allows me to do whatever I want, and that's the command prompt. So what I will attempt to do is change magnify.exe to instead be the command prompt, which will give me a prompt on the lock screen. And I'll show you why that's really cool once we get back out of Windows. So in just a second, I'm going to open the terminal here, and hopefully we can all see that. I can try to make that a little bigger. So this command shows me hard drives, and we can see SDA in Linux is just the first hard drive. And if I just escalate my privileges real quick on Linux, which is sudo, I can read that hard drive, see, and then print the partitions and see that there's 4 partitions on here of different types. So what I'm looking for is from Microsoft Basic Data, which is the biggest in size, which is basically my Windows operating system. So now that I know the actual device name, I'm just going to quickly mount that to my file system. So that's going to be /dev/sda4, and I'm going to put that in my mount directory. So basically, if you're familiar with Windows and ever opened, File Explorer and just looked in the C drive, you'll see that's basically what this looks like. So I'm going to now move into my C Windows System 32 folder, and you can see there's a file here called magnify.exe. So what I'm going to do is just because I don't destroy the machine, I'm going to keep a backup of that. Magnify.exe, and I'll name it magnify.exe.old. So that command just copies the file from magnify.exe and magnify.exe.old. And then what I'll do is take my command prompt that I already have on Windows and make that my new magnify.exe. And yep. And then I'll just shut down the machine because I'm done with. Can't spell. That means sorry. So now the machine's off. I took out my flash drive, put it back in my pocket wherever I keep it, and I'm going to boot back into Windows. So here I'm going to remove the Linux distribution and boot back into Windows.
Now, Michael, what if you have something like BitLocker installed?
So a protection against this is you can encrypt your hard drive, and Mac OS and modern version of Windows does this by default. Your hard drive will be encrypted in a way that I can't read it, and the only way to do that is if I know the password. So if I boot into a Kali Linux version or extra operating system, it will see the hard drive, but I can't mount it and I can't read it because it's all garbage data because I don't have a password to decrypt. Now you could crack the encryption, of course, but I won't do that today. So now that I've modified magnify.exe to be a different program, I can here go to accessibility menu and open a magnifier, and it's now a command prompt. And when we now here you can see I'm not logged in as any user, so what permissions do I have? All of them. You can see I'm running as NT authority system, which is higher than the default administrator on Windows, and you normally can't get into this high escalation of privileges using Windows. You do have to do some weird hacky tricks or some exploit to become. So I am as highest privileges as it gets in the Windows system. I can do whatever I want. So I can see there's different users on this machine. So I can make using the command here, net user, I'm the hacker today, with a star to, let's see. I don't know what I'm doing.
Just a quick clarification.
Thank you. I was about to get there. That's that hacker, right? So that's me. Net user hacker star. Please enter a password for the user. Super secure password. It's a server. Hold on a second. Password's not good enough. Okay. So basically what I've done is created my own user. Now, if I knew how to log in, I would have used it. So I'm just going to else instead. So net, and I'll say this is my password 123.
Check your spelling of administrator, please.
Thank you. Administrator. No, what am I doing? Just over. There we go. So that's basically the one way to do the password. So if I type in here, I can see that's the password I typed in. I now log in as administrator user. And I can do whatever I want.
Now, Michael, just a clarification, because someone asked in the chat, does that mean that Magnifier runs as NT authority?
So because I'm on the lock screen, the only way to read my passwords is basically the B system. So it's running as system because I'm on the lock screen. If I were to open magnifier in the operating system, I'm myself as administrator, right? So because it was on the lock screen before authentication, Windows has to run as something, because if I'm the administrator logging in, like in order to read the administrator password, you have to be above the administrator. So only because it's pre-login does that work like that. So that's why it's running as the highest privileges ever.
Questions? They're wild.
So there are some background processes that
Can you
do
repeat the
run.
question first? So that
Oh yeah, sorry. The question was, are there other Windows processes that run as system, or maybe some automatically escalate system? So a cool little exploit that came out actually, which is a great example in answer to this question, was Windows updates in the background and drivers to the operating system. So there's this cool exploit that has been patched, where if you have a Razer device or a Razer mouse and plug that into your Windows computer, it will automatically install the Razer Synapse driver software. And in order to do that, it's Windows update automatically in the background. So basically, to make things simple, in order to use a Razer device, Razer says, hey, you need our Synapse software. So you plug in a Razer device or Razer mouse into a computer, which is the dongle, and the Razer Synapse opens up as system. And you can just, instead of clicking install, you can click like browse folders, and from there, open a command prompt just as I did. And by plugging in a mouse into a Windows computer, you can get system. So don't do that on a computer you don't own. But yeah, what is security?
A while ago, Razer made all their devices when you plug it in, open your web browser and go to razer.com as well.
Yikes.
That's a fun one.
Now, is there something like this that either now or used to be on Mac OS?
Yeah, so on a Mac machine, you want to?
Yeah,
Oh,
single user mode.
okay. So yeah. So if you're in an Intel, Mac, it's not a thing on M1 Macs. They're a little. I'll move over here with the microphone so Zoom can hear me. M1 Macs are a little more secure. You probably do some stuff if you boot it into internet recovery and stuff. But Macs, Intel Macs have this funny thing where you can just turn off the machine and then turn it on holding Command and S, and you'll be logged in as root at a terminal. It's called single user mode. There's no password required. You just root. Yeah, it's really easy. Just Command S. Takes 2 seconds.
So make sure no one steals your computer and you're good.
And encrypt your stuff. Encryption is nice.
Yeah. Total vault disk encryption can protect you in some of this stuff.
Questions back. Are you asking how to do full disk encryption? So
Enable BitLocker.
yeah. Can you do it?
So on your
I don't
Windows
wanna encrypt
machines,
it, but
on like the newer versions of home, just go to your settings, and there should be in the system option, just like encrypt my device. On some versions of Windows, it may be called BitLocker explicitly, and you just like enable that one. It does require some newer hardware to do some things. There's a lot of variables that go into it, so I can't give like a refresher answer right now, but it will be in the settings of the Windows device, or just open Start menu, type in encryption, and you probably get close enough there. But a lot of newer computers have it on by default.
A good rule of thumb is if you can upgrade to Windows 11, you can enable BitLocker at its full potential. And even if you're not able to upgrade, you probably still can.
Yeah, and for Macs, they have built-in file encryption. It's called File Vault. It's enabled automatically when you get a Mac now. So.
But if there is interest in learning how to better secure your systems and lock your own systems down, let us know and we can teach workshops on that so you guys can like learn whatever it is you need about your system and maybe learn enough to join the CCBC team. Anything else?
Are there any other questions? I think I saw a hand up. No.
Someone asked if you can have the boogeyman, the intruder for Bitcoin to decrypt my files.
You can ask.
do you have a question in the back? Or... Oh,
Gotcha.
I should also note that this is also probably possible on Android phones, since it uses a Linux file system. So it's entirely possible to do that too.
Yeah, but a lot of modern Android phones are encrypted.
Android, just real quick, Android actually works on 2 levels of encryption. If you have like a fingerprint or something like that, when you turn off your Android phone and turn it back on, it actually like encrypts like your fingerprint with like the keypad number. You enter the keypad number and then you can use your fingerprint. That's why there's like so there's, yeah, iPhones work the same. Apple devices work the same way now too.
So when you reboot it, asks for the PIN code in that face.
Because it like encrypts even fingerprint. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Michael. We still need this one plugged in?
Yeah, because I'm gonna do something.
Right, okay, cool. Yeah, okay, so let's hop back to the slide deck.
And now I'll be doing a talk on virtual machines. It'll probably be less exciting than what Tracy just did, but it's still pretty important. So who in this room knows about WSL? Good 50%. So yeah, that's kind of something sort of similar to a virtual machine. So by a hand, who knows what a virtual machine is or has heard of one? Oh,
Awesome.
Okay,
That's good.
so this talk might be for you. So what exactly are virtual machines? I kind of came up with my own definition, and I basically said it's an isolated environment that hosts a virtualizes computer system, right? So you have my laptop, for example, you have your hardware, your operating system, right? That is a physical computer. Virtual computers are basically software defined, and they can be run on virtually anything. So how do they work? A couple of things. This is kind of a dumbed down version, but basically you need a hypervisor. So there's 2 different types. Type 1 is basically functioning as if you had the operating system on your own computer, and type 2 has an intermediate, your host OS as an intermediary contact to get the resources. So basically what hypervisors do, they're basically pieces of software that gets the hardware from your computer and allocates resources to the virtual machine so it can function as a normal computer, not just a piece of software just doing nothing, right? You need resources to do things, CPU, RAM, hard drive space. So in my image, type 1, hypervisors directly access to the hardware, and type 2s, it has to go to the intermediary host operating system that you have. So my example is Windows. So this is an example of Hyper-V. It's a Windows 10 exclusive, hypervisor. It's type 1, so it basically works directly with my computer. And I'll give you a little demo of how it works real quick.
And while he does that, just a quick fun fact. So if anyone has an Xbox One, that uses Hyper-V under the hood. Your favorite Xbox game is running in a VM. How's that for knowledge?
Yeah, so this is my Hyper-V. I only have 2 VMs on it, one for Hack the Box and one for binary exploitation. But I'm going to boot up my favorite one because this one runs Parrot OS, which is a cool operating system. It's kind of similar to Kali Linux, and I got to connect to it.
So not like Temple OS.
No.
Not streaming.
Oh.
Sure, full screen.
I'm a boomer. So I'm just going to connect like this, so I don't have to. Cool. So now this is my Parrot OS. I can start terminals. 2 pop up for some reason, but I got to fix that later. But yeah, I can run ls, who am I can do root, all that fun jazz. And it's basically like having a Linux operating system on your computer. So if you don't want to install like Kali Linux as your primary or dual boot, this is a great way to do it. Let me show you.
Is a virtual machine kind of like a simulated computer within a computer?
Essentially, so it's not.
An emulator would be about.
Yeah.
Can you ask the question?
Oh, so a person in the front row asked if a virtual machine is basically like a simulated computer. Technically, yes and no, but it's more like an emulation because it is a computer itself. But
Yeah, modern like x86 hypervisors, I believe, also use some fun trickery to essentially send the CPU instructions straight to the CPU without having to have like an emulation layer. But like if you're trying to do a VM of like something like ARM, like yeah, have fun with that.
So I can also show you here on my settings for this virtual machine, I allocated 6 gigabytes of RAM. And in here, I'm using area 11. So all my other tabs plus the 6 gigabytes add up to my total processes. And then I'm also using some CPUs, some hard disk space, which will recognize if you go to your C files in your File Explorer. But yeah, I digress. It's using all your computer resources. So you do have to have like some form of large amount of memory and like RAM, and CPUs. But so why do we use them? It's the most important question. As a bulk list, you can use different operating systems. You can host a lot of them if you have enough space. You can have Ubuntu Linux, or you can have Mac OS, or you can have Windows Server 2019, or whatever you can find that is image files. You can also do it from security. So if you want to like reverse engineer malware without infecting your computer, because I've done that before and it's a pain to remove, you can basically create a virtual machine, download the malware and run it, see what it does, reverse engineer it, and figure out how it works. You could also build networks, which I'll show you an example of in a minute. And you can also test a bunch of programs. Oh yeah, sorry.
Are you able to access the host machine files
From a virtual machine, no. It's completely isolated. It's because it's for protection mainly, because if it was able to access your own host machine, you would basically, if someone hacked your virtual machine, which is a possibility if it's publicly facing, they can basically gain access to your entire machine.
I'm gonna jump in there real quick. It shouldn't be, but container escape is something that is always like a possibility, and recognizing that a given program is running inside a virtualized environment is a part of building like malware. So you can escape from a container. It's just incredibly difficult. Last I checked, there were only like 3 or 4 verified instances of container escape on a bunch of different VM platforms, and a lot of those have been patched, but you can do it. It's just you rely on a lot of specific settings being enabled, and one of the first things that you should always make sure of is that if you are opening up a VM, that it is isolated from its host environment, so that you're not sharing clipboard, or you're not sharing like file system access, things like that.
Yeah, don't reverse engineer malware when you have VMware VirtualBox guest editions running on the virtual machine. That is one way to get access to a parent machine. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know a whole lot about much of this, but
Yeah.
I know that at my internship, we're able to SSH into a VM. And is that at all related, or like something else? entirely?
So the question was, this person had an internship where they're able to SSH, which is a protocol, an internet protocol that is able to connect to the virtual machine. And yes, the whole reason why is because of networking. When you create a virtual machine, it has its own IP, and that IP is private to your host machine, or you can configure it to have a NAT address, or network address translation, which basically says all internet, so it converts your IP to the host IP using some math formula, and then it sends it out. And whenever you get back, the information will come back right to your machine. There's also other ways you can configure the networking, but basically if you're unable to pair it with your host IP, because you're able to SSH into it, because it's technically isolated in a sense where it's on your own private network, so no one except you can access it. Or a VPN also will work as an SSH medium.
So it's not entirely the same, like it kind of is the same thing, but because it's on a private network.
Yeah, by default, it's on a private network, at least for Hyper-V. I haven't really used all the other ones, but by default, it is privatized.
Yeah, it's like if you had like let's just say a Raspberry Pi, and you're running a program on the Raspberry Pi on your network, like a separate device. You can access that separate device, but like you can't, like in this case, access some imaginary host machine because it's essentially its own IP address.
Any other questions before I move on? Cool. Yeah, so there's a lot of benefits. I noticed some pictures, like you can have virtual machines which you back up, and it's a lot easier because all you have to do is store an image file, or and scalability because they're basically virtualized, so you can allocate it more resources and shrink down resources. It's a very efficient way to host a lot of large infrastructures. So how can you get one? Windows is the biggest, easiest way to get one. You have Hyper-V, which all UCF students should have access to if you know how to use Azure. It's basically you have to download Windows 10 Education, and you would have to install it as your main OS. You have, like, if on Azure you have a bunch of access to Windows Server images, Windows 10. I don't know about Pro, but a lot of stuff like that. You could also have VirtualBox, which is a Type 2 hypervisor. It's like a third-party application. That's really free and easy to use, and it's cross-platform. You also have VMware. So if you're a CECS student, I'm pretty sure you can get VMware Workstation on your computer. But there's also free versions for everyone else. And there's also QEMU, which I don't use a lot. It's kind of like an emulated, like a more or less sophisticated version of Hyper-V VirtualBox and VMware. And then for Linux, there's not a lot just because of how the kernel works. There's VirtualBox and QEMU. And then for Mac, there's VirtualBox.
VMware does work on Linux.
Does it?
Yes, I run it on Linux.
Oh, well, I've been corrected. All right, and then there's VMware and then QEMU for Mac. However, this isn't exhaustive. There could be more, or you can make your own virtual hypervisor. However, Hack UCF infrastructure is the solution to all your problems. Can I have Michael Tracy come up? So this past summer, this has been Hack UCF's child, essentially, where we're building infrastructure. Basically, an easy way to give all of our members access to virtualized virtual machines and creating your own private networks and so forth. So we're going to do a demo, an alpha release today.
So if anyone isn't already familiar with this, Lockheed Martin was kind enough to grant to our organization a sum of money to allow us to purchase equipment that we wouldn't have been able to buy on our own, so that we could do really awesome things like plan and run our own events. And now that development project was essentially put on our own shoulders, and we have been working tirelessly since we were given that opportunity to bring that online. Unfortunately, building a private cloud is tough. And if you don't already have a lot of experience doing so, it's really tough. But given a little bit of refocusing of efforts and a little bit of a different perspective, we essentially scrapped a lot of what we had already, and we built from the ground up something new. This project started in, what'd you say, May?
About April.
About April. Okay, so like the mid to late April. And they've been developing this from there. And I'm going to turn it over to the guys who actually built the project.
Do you want to go or?
Yeah, so as Daniel said, the past 5 or so months, me and my team have helped, not all inclusive here, have worked effortlessly and tirelessly to bring to you what you see on your screen here. So if you ever use something like AWS, Azure, GCP, Linode, right? Spin up a server in the cloud. That's a public cloud. You spin up virtual machines, and you can use them just as a normal server. Because of the hardware we've been obtained or gifted here, we built our own private cloud. So in a matter of essentially 5 months or so, and there's still plenty of more work to be done, we've developed a custom front end to our own backend infrastructure, which took a lot of work to build and is running, as you've seen that Matt demonstrated. It's all backed by Hyper-V on our end. So that's our backend infrastructure. But what you're seeing is not at all Hyper-V or Microsoft exclusive. The entire access to the infrastructure is accessible via this web browser. And it's designed to be like super easy, and it's still in heavy development, but Matt will now show how easy it's supposed to be as it works.
Yeah, so before I guess I finish. Oh, here we go.
It's in alpha, so we'll hopefully be like able to have like a soft launch.
Does someone want to pick an operating system? I don't really like Windows, so I like Linux.
Yeah, go with Ubuntu. I know it works.
Yeah. Yeah, so I should mention that Jeffrey and Ryan, who is not here, basically developed this entire webpage from scratch. Michael and I have been working on the back end, basically developing the VPNs, public key infrastructure, and a lot of other fun PowerShell stuff. All right.
Yeah, and look at that. We got a listing for a VM.
So we got power on.
Yep. No, good, sir.
There's no loading screen there.
All right. Oh, gosh. I got a long password, so hold on a second.
All right, Bitwarden.
Because secure passwords are necessary.
Yes.
So, Michael, while
Beautiful.
he's getting this pulled up, is it just VMs?
At this time now, we only have virtual machines implemented, but there are much more features that we're working on, such as your ability to create your own private networks, some software-defined networking features, virtual firewalls you can put in front of your servers, so you don't have to configure a firewall on your host. You can do that in the hypervisor level, much like Amazon security groups, if you ever used EC2. The ability to share virtual machines. At some point, we will also try to integrate workshops into here, so we can build a workshop environment and then share that with members of this platform into here. But what you're seeing now is the virtual machine we just spun up. We're now connecting to it right here.
So you actually did not add a network adapter. So do you want to add access to the WoW net because it can't connect to the internet?
No, it's fine. No, we did. It was Cloud.net. That's just
Oh.
that's the special case. So what he's doing now basically is he's spun up a Ubuntu VM and he's going through the installation process of just that. Right now, we're going off a ISO-based installation. So what that means is you spin up a virtual machine and it mounts the operating system you chose, and it's up to you to install it. In the future, once we figure out a lot of the complicated automation magic behind that, we will try to have templates be deployed. So you click one button, easy install Ubuntu, and then like that, you have an Ubuntu machine you're ready to log into without installing other things. So
Are you guys in the back seat? Are you good? Kind of. Can you like read out loud what we're doing on the screen? People.
So this is the installation of Ubuntu server. If you ever installed Ubuntu or any operating system, that's all this is. There's nothing special difficulties with it. It works flawlessly every time.
So from installing a movie pack, I think you cut out at the bottom, you go down below the screen, you can do it.
I guess the thing we just do a solution.
We're just gonna try to
So,
make it.
I think you fixed the solution.
I have a quick question. Are there any plans to make the website itself secure? 'Cause I can't help but notice.
There we go.
So
Yes, glad you asked.
the
PKI.
website is secure. Thank you for asking. It is using a self-signed certificate. So what that means, it is encrypted and everything. And the browser says it's not secure because it's not publicly trusted. So when you build your own infrastructure on premise, you don't use a certificate from a trusted provider on the internet because they can access it directly from the internet. It's on our infrastructure. So getting a trusted certificate is a little bit extra work. So the connections are all encrypted. Don't worry about that.
Yes.
The browser says it's not secure because it's not trusted by a third party. Because we are our own third party in the circumstance. We built the entire infrastructure from the ground up. Basically, we did not get the certificate to encrypt data from Google or from like Amazon. We built it ourselves. We do plan to get a trusted certificate from one of those providers in the future when we go for a full release. But this is just a functional build right now. We'll work out the kinks later.
For those in the back, he's just like going through. He's just like set a password. He's not doing anything nuts.
Yeah.
They can't really see it. What's up?
The thing is that like
Well, what are we doing? We know that it works.
we know that it
Yeah.
works. We can
Just it works.
It's cut off here. The help. There's no
th-
bracket.
th- yeah, that's it's iframes being weird.
Web dev is hard.
So.
Yeah.
What is he setting the password to? Like, what is he setting the password for?
He's
Ubuntu.
the root user for Ubuntu. He's spun up an
If you're using
Ubuntu.
a text that you just created.
Yeah, he just spun up an Ubuntu.
It's off
machine.
now.
Yeah.
It's not root, you know?
Um,
Sure, let's go. I'm root. Let's go.
That works. Okay.
What is an Ubuntu machine?
It's a
What is an Ubuntu?
it's a Linux distribution. It's based off of Debian, which is think of a tree structure. You know, how important things.
Yeah.
And then you got Debian, you got Ubuntu, Pally, Parrot, a whole bunch of stuff.
I guess what my question is, so there was a computer in your web browser.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But it's being hosted on a server room in HEC, if I'm not mistaken.
So in your web browser, you're accessing a computer that's hosted somewhere else.
Yeah.
Wait,
And I
so
can do this on any other computer.
We've put the Hyper-V console in the browser.
I don't have to run like RDP. I don't have to like.
If you don't want to, you don't have to, but you'll still, once you get everything set up, be able to run RDP if you really want to.
Yeah. This is this is your virtual machine. You can do whatever you want with. So access to the infrastructure that once you get it, you spin up your virtual machine. You can SSH into it. You can RDP into it. You can do whatever you want. It's a virtual machine that's yours, and that's the beauty of it.
So for people who like don't understand why this is super cool, that you can just make a computer and have it. This is really good if you want to test stuff for cybersecurity that would be annoying if you guys want to. Right? You don't want to do things like create a website or create a server of some kind or make like complicated security configurations to your own computer. So that makes your daily life hard and it's dangerous for yourself. This lets you make your own computer like somewhere in the cloud where no one can touch it. And it's based on accuracy of info, and it lets you test stuff that normally would be really not fun to do.
Yeah,
It's like a
and
sandbox.
yeah, and to elaborate on that, like I know one of the reasons I'm like really wanting to just to take off the ground is that like if you want to get into like home labbing on like enterprise grade software or hardware that you'll never be able to afford, or even software if we can get our Splunk licensing secure, please.
Working on it.
Splunk licenses for hack UCF, hopefully EPA some. But anyways, so yeah, the thing that's awesome is that you can essentially learn home labbing without having to fork over potentially thousands of dollars on your own infrastructure. And now I have an announcement from Michael.
Yeah. So all the cool stuff you're learning, here with us, a safe place to test that is this environment. And the restrictions you see on top are just per your user. So it's independent for every single member that will get access to this platform. So of course, we only have so much hardware in our data center. We need to provision that accordingly for members. And the cool thing about this, what you're looking at here is our alpha release. And starting today, those ops members who are operations team who want to take part in this and help us do some QA testing and watch it work in the wild. After the meeting CME, alpha release is now officially live, and we are onboarding members.
Man, that's awesome.
I should also say if you're interested in doing like ethical hacking and you don't have enough resources on your computer to host your own machine, this is a great way. And you can spin up like a VPN. You can connect to Hack the Box, which is a great way to learn. And you can basically do hacking remotely and then do whatever you want from your browser or RDP.
Big disclaimer: do not hack us.
We'll hack you back.
I will delete your account.
Yeah,
Delete your account, and we will turn you into UCF.
Yeah, this is an alpha release. Like,
don't hack us, please.
ethics forums, both a joke, not a joke, but again, we are giving this, and because of the generous donation by Lucky Mountain, we can have this. Please don't ruin it for everyone. We're going to trust our ops members first with this, and then work on some bugs as we go. So yeah, you can do whatever you want except crimes.
Yeah, and to before I get to your question, I also want to address a question someone asked in the Discord: is how long these VMs last for? And our quota system, the only thing that will take up your quota is active running machines and your storage being used. And we don't wipe VMs. So as long as you have the quota to run your storage, you're good. Additionally, if you want to have two super powerful VMs that you alternate between, you can shut down a VM and your CPU and memory quotas won't be used. So you can kind of overlap in a way with other VMs.
Yeah. So what you see here is this: the default quota we have is 8 CPU cores and 8 gigs of memory. That's concurrently live. You can have 100 virtual machines, but you're limited by your storage there. But as long as no machines are on that are using more than 8 cores or 8 memory gigabytes, you're good.
Hold on, we got a question over here.
Yeah, my question would be that what I'm seeing right now.
That is per your environment, yes. So this one machine we spun up by Ubuntu 20.04 is using 12.5% of the 8 cores, which is 1 CPU and 2 gigs of RAM. Yes. Multi-tenancy. It's complicated.
Next question. So the question was, what kind of hardware is running the back end?
So the compute nodes that we have are 4 blade servers. And what a blade server is essentially rack space in a server rack where we just slide in machines into. We have 4 of those, 4 blades. And I believe each one of those nodes is running with 256 gigabytes of memory and 512 virtual CPUs. That's like 2,000 cores and 2 terabytes of memory. That's the total. I mean, yeah, a lot.
Massive.
Storage like 44 terabytes in the back end, give or take, allocated amongst multiple users.
Yeah, and that's great.
If it's 2 terabytes each, why is it 8 gigabytes under the memory? Or is that like?
That's RAM.
So memory is like the RAM. You have like the RAM sticks.
There's 2 types of memory.
And storage is like the big like hard disk or SSD.
Yeah, so that's just for one user, 8 gigabytes. Obviously, we can't give one user all 2 terabytes because then they'll build a 2 terabyte machine and no one else can use the infrastructure. So we do have to limit per person to just make better use of resources. We do plan to scale this out to basically all of our members in the future. So everyone in this room would have access to this in the future.
Yeah, question in the back.
Yeah, so the question was, is this available outside of the UCF network, or I'll add outside of the Cyber Lab? Right now, it's only accessible in the Cyber Lab because that has a direct link back to our infrastructure. However, we are working with UCF to get another port open in the UCF firewall to our machines. So you can VPN in from anywhere into our environment and access your virtual machines.
Yeah, so basically this infrastructure, we basically built Azure from scratch in terms of complexity wise. Like it's been a very intense project from the start.
It's like, you guys know what Microsoft, raise your hand if you don't know what Microsoft Azure is.
Amazon AWS services.
You guys know? What's up?
It's totally okay to not know what Azure is. Like, it's not something you're going to use unless you had experience with this stuff before, or like worked in the industry.
Remember, like Amazon has like computers in the cloud, right? That kind of thing. Like they built that.
Or Google Cloud, stuff like that. We basically built our own private cloud.
I think everyone knows.
Yeah, I think most people know what the
People
cloud
that
is.
are in the audience, at least, like they seem to have a good
Yeah,
grasp of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our infrastructure project. I can't wait to get it out into more hands. It's been a very interesting project and like it's been awesome. Awesome question.
Great question. If they
Yeah.
need infrastructure help, how are you guys accepting it?
Happy.
Talk to us, one of us. I'm M. Troisi in the Discord.
I'm sure going to Discord.
Orion Meister. And Ryan is not here, but who is Ryan?
You can also @infra, and they'll respond in the Discord that way.
This entire project, correct me if I'm wrong, is written in just like JavaScript, more JavaScript stuff.
Yes.
And
if you want the specifics, it's a Nuxt.js single page application written in Vue and JavaScript.
yeah, and my backend is a metric load of PowerShell.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
We wrote a custom API in PowerShell to get this working.
What is the stack that it uses?
So
There does not exist a stack for this.
No.
We're running Java and PowerShell, my dude.
maybe a little bit of Express.js and IIS.
What is the implementation of technologies that this entire thing is built on? I heard someone mention that it was Azure. It was similar to Azure. Like, how similar is it?
So basically, it's a private cloud, which many of you are probably familiar with the cloud. The private cloud is just when we're talking about the cloud, we refer to other people's machines. This cloud is our machines. We are the cloud. So that's kind of the same technology level that we're on here, where you'll have access to spin up your own virtual machines, isolated from everyone else.
Oh, that's good.
That wasn't us. And yeah.
Yeah. Also, someone mentioned PowerShell injection. So how the API is set up, I do not believe that is possible. PowerShell injection.
Yeah, there's a question for PowerShell command
Go for
injection, basically asking if my API can be exploited. Not as far as I can tell. The way it parses variables is just like literal strings. I've tried to inject it myself, but again, it's not an opportunity to pen test our application. We will handle the penetration testing ourselves and fix the security bugs. However, y'all can help with the feature bugs and leave the security to us.
Ditmar can exploit it.
All right, guys, can we jump
Yeah.
back to the slides real quick?
Yeah.
All right, I
Feature
know that
coming
we've
soon.
got a bunch of questions coming in the chat. We will answer those towards
Ferrets.
the end. We got one question here.
So if you're interested in how to get infrastructure, could you go to the Tuesday operations meeting?
Yes, and
Before that.
yeah, I was gonna say, yes, but also go an hour early because that's when we have our infrastructure meeting.
Yeah, it was from 8 to 9.
Yeah,
No.
7
Oh,
to 8.
7 to 8.
7
It's 7 to 8,
7 to
ops
8
is
ops.
8 to 9 on Tuesdays.
Yeah, 8 to 9 is options.
Yes.
Yeah.
PM. You were night owls.
Can I get the
Okay.
clicker?
Yeah. Where's the clicker? Right there.
So when you say you have to show up to 50% meeting, is this including like control structure meetings and all
No.
those things? Like-
No,
These meetings.
general bodies is what we
The
count for
question,
attendance.
sorry, just for everyone in Zoom, the question was, when we talked about 50% of meeting attendance, does that mean all of these other different meetings? The answer is no, just our general body meetings. So if you have any questions about how to join, you can go to hackucf.org/join. You can grab this QR code. It will walk you through everything. Looks like I got a question in the back. What's up?
Yes.
The question was, are ops meetings going to be in person or on Zoom? And the answer is, as much as we possibly can, we are going to do our in-person meetings on Zoom as well. The info meetings are in person only, correct?
At the moment, because it's like 4 people.
Right. We shifted to in person because we have the lab now.
If there is more interest, they may open those up to Zoom as well.
I was doing on Zoom, but I just can't put Tuesdays.
Anyone have questions about joining?
He would join, but he's not on campus on Tuesdays. Yeah, so how do you join this club?
Right.
Oh, sorry.
What's up?
So I'm looking at like, in person, so would I-
Me. I'm the money guy.
The question was, on the site, it says you can pay in person. How do I do that? The answer is you talk to Matt, he's our treasurer.
Yes. I'm like the
Yeah.
Federal Reserve, in fact, UCF.
You get an 80-cent discount if you pay in person because you don't have to deal with PayPal fees.
We don't have to do.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No one does.
Any other questions or?
I think we're good.
Cool. We said we were going to talk about it later, so we're going to talk about it now. We do have a store, hackucf.org/shop, where all super awesome hacker merch can be purchased and also designed by you. Everything that goes up in the store is made by our members. So you can make something and it'll end up in our store.
You can
If
get hats.
Like hats, you can design hats. If you like t-shirts, you can design t-shirts. Every year we tend to do a t-shirt design contest in which we all vote on a t-shirt and that one gets printed off and that's the one that everyone gets. We've moved towards a print on demand style. So now you can just get whatever t-shirt you like. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like in the audience. If you know someone who really loves graphic design and they want to get in and they want to like make stuff, send them my way, please. This was the design from last year, kind of like reiterating on that. We do t-shirts and we do hoodies. We do really soft, awesome hoodies with a logo on it. So that way, when you go to conferences, you can represent us and you can see the rest of us that are there. All right. So guys, stay informed. If you haven't had a chance to join the mailing list or join the Discord, please take a minute to do so now. You can grab that QR code. You can check us out on Twitter. We're there as well. We've got a couple more like last closing bits, but we're getting to the end of the meeting here. Everyone's got the QR code. Cool. All right. Shameless plug for operations. We need help to run the club. If you want to help, please come talk to us. And now I'd like to bring up our affiliated friends. Please join us up on stage. Looks like it's going to be Nighthacks tonight.
Harold from the other UCF Hack Club.
All right. Hey guys, how's it going? Oh, hello. Okay, cool. So, hey guys, how's it going? So I am the president of Nighthacks. Who has heard of us? Okay, so you've heard of Nighthacks specifically, not Hack UCF. That's kind of cool. Who's heard of a hackathon before? Amazing. So this is really where the confusion comes between our organizations, because we do get that a lot. So Nighthacks focuses on software development, and where our name comes from is a hackathon. Our hackathon is, for those who don't know, it's a weekend-long event where you create projects and teams of people. And the reason why it's called a hackathon is because it's using the definition of hack as creating, clever, unique, and innovative methods of solving problems, creating projects. Think of like hacking something together for like a whole weekend. So but we're also our own club that meets every week. We have technical workshops, interview prep. So we'll discuss anything about like, software development interviews or any other like, general interview tips. There's networking opportunities with tech companies. At our hackathon especially, we have Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and a bunch of other companies coming out for Nighthacks. It is November 12th to 14th. Within the next maybe like month or so, you can keep an eye for applications for the hackathon to come out. It's an amazing event. We're thinking about doing it hybrid, assuming the world doesn't end again. And I mean, overall, it's a pretty cool organization. We work really closely with Hack UCF. We're looking to have them at the hackathon and also hosting some workshops. And right here is the QR code for the Discord. If someone can let me know if it works, because it should work, hopefully. It works. Thank you so much. So yeah, I mean, our link tree has all of our links, if it's a Zoom thing or Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you can find us at Nighthacks on pretty much all the social media platforms. If anyone has any questions, feel free to come to me after the meeting, or I'm pretty easy to find on the Discord. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you, Hack UCF, for having me.
Thank you, Harold. All right. Cool. So what's next week? Right, guys. So this is my announcement right now. Everyone who is here and did sign in, you have racked up one meeting, which means that next week you'll be allowed to vote on our budget, which SGA says we have to have so that we can buy fun things like prizes and t-shirts and pay for websites and all other kinds of things. So please, please, please show up. If you do not show up, your vote will not be counted. Thank you for attending. This is the end of the meeting. If you have questions, you want to talk to us, feel free to come to the front. We are going to be wrapping up, getting out of here, going to the Cyber Lab, and then probably following on to get food. I'm thinking tacos.
Gringos.
Sorry? Same time next week.
Same time next week, the week after that, until the end of the semester, or we say otherwise.
Thank you.
Questions about the population future,
Thank you.